Okay, good morning. Before we start today's class, there's an announcement made by the head of Department of Bachelor of Physics study program that telling us to fill in the mid-semester questionnaire that I provide to you on the MS Teams class. Okay, this one. Okay, which is basically a thing that we always or regularly do whenever we already in mid-semester time to evaluate the activities on each class, whether the acceptance of the material or you have comments or critics related to the activities that we have in class, and make sure you fill it so that after the filling period is over, we could discuss it over the result so that in the rest of the semester our class will have some kind of improvement or two, so that probably the activities or the environment when we have the lecture will be improved from the beginning of the semester. Okay, so make sure that you will fill questionnaire. It's just probably take just 5 minutes or so, and therefore it will be beneficial not only for our class but also for the study program, due to the fact that this is required by the accreditation board that we have from ASIN, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so make sure you fill. Okay, as your colleague also reminds you to fill in the attendance list. Okay, for today, where we're going to continue our discussion or our meeting on how to prepare oral presentations. Okay, so let me open. Okay, don't forget to fill in the attendance list as usual, because your passing of this lecture also will be determined by how much time you spend for enrolled in the class and working on the activities. Okay, in EduNext, meanwhile, I have uploaded the materials related to how to create an effective oral presentation, where we already see some videos related to the lecture introduction, and then style comparison, and then the suggestions related to the way of speaking. Okay, how we prepare our mental and also our physics, our physical condition and also mental condition before moving on to the presentation, and also how we dress ourselves when we have a certain discussion or a seminar, or basically in presentation in the general sense, because working on the public speaking is also a way that we could communicate the things that is related to science, physics, etc., and so on, so that even though there are no particular issues related to the how we dress for scientific meetings, but we could learn from how do people dress when they're going to public speaking in general, because depending on the occasions, okay, you must follow the the custom that one activities have, or one companies have, or one university have, so that it will appropriate for the occasion itself. Because usually when we have online meetings like this one, people forget that online meeting is just a tool, right? It's just a alternative to the actual conference that people usually have before the pandemic era. And therefore, they tend to forget they must dress or have a appropriate attire when they're going to speak in front of that particular audience. So for example, if you are, well, as it was suggested by the expert that we saw, the videos in Thursday, is that if you're speaking in front of a conference, you need to have a semi-formal attire. If you are speaking in front of colleagues, okay, if the audience itself is your colleague, or those who are in terms of academic achievement is lower than you. So for example, if you're speaking with high school students in one particular meeting, and in one particular meeting, etc., and so on, you might choose to use a informal attire, but it's still on an appropriate style. Okay, so depending on the audience and occasion and the customs on where the meeting is held, then you need to dress properly for that occasion, especially when you're having defense. Okay, when you're having your own final project defense, do not forget to wear appropriate clothes. Don't think about wearing t-shirts during your defense. Maybe if you are wearing t-shirts when you attending this class, for example, I'm still okay with that. But whenever you attend another class or attend your own defense, make sure you have a proper attire for that occasion. Okay, so the next, well, the thing that I'm going to do in today's session is to remind everybody about our tentative schedule. It's supposed to be, I describe to you about the evaluation regarding your scientific paper draft. However, due to one and several circumstances that I have during the week and over the weekend, so there's some kind of difficulties that I have, and therefore I would like to postpone the evaluation probably after we done with presentation number 1. Okay, and so maybe the evaluation for your 3 minutes presentation and also for your scientific paper draft or the introduction will be done on the same day. Okay, because of circumstances that I cannot avoid at this moment, and therefore we could move on to our next topic, which relates to the delivery of scientific presentation. In this case, a scientific presentation that is prepared for a defense or talking in front of in a seminar. Okay, so be aware that the thing that I going to explain to you probably mostly suitable for these type of settings, serious settings or purely academic settings, but not always applicable when you move into your own company or you're going to talk in front of a different audience. Okay, and therefore, if you have a chance to look out for more YouTube videos or any tutorial videos from other provider that set you for different occasions, okay, for public speaking or for scientific meetings or scientific talk in a relaxed manner or in a not too formal settings, well, maybe you could learn more on that sample videos or from that tutorial. Whereas the thing that I'm going to describe to you in this morning session is to how we prepare our presentation delivery for formal and also in seminar settings. Okay. Okay, let me turn on the full screen. Okay, presentation can be viewed from three stylistic perspectives. It relates to the structure and your own speech, and then visual aids. We've talked about it in Thursday about how we prepare our PPT, and we can see that the preparation could be in a simplistic way or in a colorful and creative settings, right? And then the third one is about the delivery itself. So structure and speech related to the preparation of the thing that you want to say, the thing or the the outline of your speech, but not about your gesture, not about your eye contact. It's not about the tones that you're going to use during the speech itself, because here we consider that the way that we deliver our speech is the other thing from the speech itself. So preparing a scientific presentation, one need to prepare the message, one need to organize the message, and then we need to have the visual in order to improve or in order to help us delivering the message to the audience, and also the way that we deliver the messages. Okay, giving a talk, it is important, right? Giving a good talk, especially in your defense or in scientific meetings, it is important because you brought a novelty or you brought an innovation from your own studies. So more people will see your talk than will read your papers. Okay, that is one of the messages that one of the videos that we saw on Thursday. People want to see you more rather than the PPT itself. And the audience will form their impression of you based on your talks. Early in career, we could treat every talk like an interview talk, and then we could start as early as we can. And here are some of the things many listeners want from a talk. They want content. Okay, the first one is the content, whether it is interesting or not, and then the clarity and organization. The third one is style and delivery, and the fourth one will be about your own, about the speaker, about the expertise of that one speaker has. Okay, in content, we need to convey new information, poses an interesting questions, convey how people in other field thinks, describe important ideas and novel discovery. Okay, clarity and organization. It means that your presentation need to be understandable, and then we need to avoid too many technical terms. Here it is mentioned as avoid jargons. Jargons mean technical terms that not so many people knew about it. So please choose the simple words when we deal with these presentations, unless we are involved in a closed type of seminar, which where only experts gather there, and so maybe we can use the technical or scientific terms more freely, because on that setting, people who are attending that meeting should understand the meanings on that particular words, on that particular scientific technical words. So therefore, there's some kind of a level that needs to be met before you attending that seminar. So for example, if you are joining in a front group discussion, okay, where many experts related to the geophysical modeling gather, for example, then it is okay for you to use the technical terms on that occasion. However, if you are going to talk in a broader audience, for example, in general public speaking, for example, then you need to kind of tone down the technical and scientific aspect, and then speak in a way that people will easily understand the message. So, okay, and then use clear and simple visual aids. We mustn't use too complex figures and displays for our PPT. We need to be well organized, and then enable us to catch up if space out, and then don't run over time. Okay, do not pass the allocated time when we have that period of speaking. Okay, because in seminar we usually have time allocation, and we must follow that allocation. And then in terms of style and delivery, the way that one speaker will do in a lecture, for example, like myself today, or for the speaker when they talk about scientific topic in front of a seminar, will be different in terms of their approach. The style and delivery needs to be taken seriously, because the audience need to keep awake, and then the voice or the intonation of one speaker could be varies from one period of time, okay, and then convey enthusiasm, and then doesn't stay in one place. So the thing that is not feasible during online meeting nowadays is that the speaker could not move freely, okay, to cover one place to another of the audience, because we stuck into our screen, right? And we speak while we're sitting in our chair, basically, and doesn't have that two-way communication with the audience directly. And therefore, this is kind of missed using when we have an online meeting such as this one. And friendly and approachable, and etc. and so on. And then in terms of expertise, we have to be credible when we talk about that issues, inspire trust and confidence to the audience, and then answer question clearly. So these are the things that many listeners want from a talk that is given by a certain speaker. The structure of a good talk, we can start broadly, get specific, and then end broadly as well. Start with the biggest question and get progressively more specific, so that in the beginning, in terms of the outline, we let audience know what they're going to hear, and let them know how the presentation will be organized. And we could see here that this is kind of different with the thing that we saw on Thursday, because in Thursday, I guess the expert did not recommend us to show the outline of our presentation. Well, that will be fine. Okay, that will be true for one occasions, okay, but in scientific, in a generic scientific meeting or in your final project defense, your advisor especially will ask you not only to put an outline before we begin our, so after we show our title and names, we basically tell the audience about the examinee about the outline of the presentations, and also the page number. Okay, remember when in Thursday the expert doesn't recommend us to show the page number, right? When we talk, when we're giving a presentation. So, however, it is not always the case when we have the defense or seminar. We need to provide some kind of a slide number due to the fact that maybe the audience will recognize some issues related to the topic, and he will pinpoint the page number to ask about clarifications about more description on that particular page. Okay, so it will help the audience itself to recognize on what page does the issue is coming. Okay, the thing that they need to be clarified, that the thing that the speaker need to be clarified about the issues on that particular page. Okay, and in the beginning we also gave context on the problem or the background story why this study is carried out, and then questions to be answered, and also the relevant knowledge on the issue. So this is the same. Okay, so the beginning part of our slide presentation is basically or almost the same with the introduction part of our paper. Okay, if you already done your paper introduction, this is what we usually have, or this is what we usually prepare for the beginning part of our presentation. Okay, this, and then the middle is the meat of the talk. Okay, however, talk are delivered to the audience with limited attention span. In this sense, that the middle part, even though the main information is given in the middle, however, the focus of the audience tend to be decreased during that time. Okay, this is one studies carried out from one particular studies related to presentation. So the focus time of audience that they have for a 40-minute lecture, okay, for a 40-minute lecture, for example, the main focus is only for about 5 minutes, okay, 5 to 10 minutes of the lecture in the beginning, and also at the end, okay, because those are because okay, sorry. Oh, what did I? Okay, because these are the time when we start our meeting and also the time when we end the meeting itself, and therefore the focus when we have the most information given, unfortunately, is not correspond well with the time span of the audience acceptance or focus during the lecture, and so the lecture itself usually doesn't have any breaks, which is different with in seminar settings. In seminar settings, you need to talk in 15 minutes or 20 in 15 or 20 minutes, including question and answer for one particular speech sessions or oral sessions, and then you have breaks in between talks. So therefore, the focus is not going to be the same as this one. However, in the same interval of your speech in that 15 minutes or 20 minutes talk, the behavior of this audience response is usually the same. However, but the difference between seminar and lecture is obviously in lecture we don't have any breaks in the middle of lecture. The middle is also the time at which the audience tends to be zoned on, yes, of course. And here, major findings, text or table and graph, one slide for each, and message should be unambiguous. And then we need, and then be qualitative. Physics is an exact science whose pleasure derived from qualitative understanding. It will turn out as we go more and more advanced physics that many simple things can be deduced mathematically more rapidly than they can be really understood in the fundamental or simple sense. Mr. Feynman, while discussing spinning tops in his lecture note, for example. So give simple physical picture and graph, keep formula simple without unnecessary indices, essentially giving the main trends. Give tables only when necessary, and it is preferable to use graph instead of table. Just because you know, okay, just because we are expert in the particular topic that we're going to deliver, it doesn't mean that everyone else has to. So in this case, in this cartoon, the professor is an astrophysics professor telling about what his expertise is, and in not. And the delivery itself, or the way that he delivered the topic itself, is not that it's not that simple. Okay, is even though they learn about this, even though they must understand about this, but it doesn't mean that people or the audience that is outside astrophysics could learn without this type of delivery. Okay, so in other sense is that if you're able to provide simple explanation in words in terms of mathematical equations, so it is better to do that. Okay, it is better because people tend to be more understand the message using languages instead of mathematical equations. So so if your audience is general public, or the people who are not in science, or beginners in science, then you need to make a clear and simple description. But if you are attending an expert group, okay, then you may use the mathematical formula. Okay, then don't say it, show it. So whenever you have visual aids, and you have a certain message about the phenomena that you research on, use chart and graph so that it will help you to increase understanding, okay, to the audience, and then it will save time and enhance attention and help control nervousness. So because you make sure that the graph itself is basically helps you conveying the information. Okay, keep Pandora's box closed is that you do not talk about things you have only a faint idea about. You think you will look educated, but bet that there will be someone in the audience asking a question about it, and you will be embarrassed and say, oops, I'm actually not an expert on that, sorry. So so even though you are a student, even though you are well, this is basically where we study about this in a seminar. Okay, in a seminar when we talk about our topic, we are not we are, this phrase is the thing that we need to avoid, saying that I'm not the expert on this. I'm actually just begin learn about this, etc. and so on. So even though sometimes in our case it shows our courtesy, it shows our, you know, uh, it shows that we are not an arrogant person. However, it kind of makes the impression that we are not supposed to talk about this topic. We're not the one who are eligible or in control with the presentation itself. So and so maybe we could tune about it, or we could also tell the audience, instead of telling them about, oh, I'm not an expert about it, or I'm not the I'm not the maybe we could say maybe we can state, for example, at this point we are not studying about that, but we are going to study about that later on, or we just say that we are not doing, or we're not researching on that direction in the moment, but we will consider your suggestion, or we will talk about. And so therefore, sometimes we also need to be careful with the thing that we displayed in our PPT, in order we avoid this situation where we're going to be asked about some details in our picture. So for example, if we a figure and we just copy and paste it without understanding, it will have a chance that someone will ask you anyway. Someone will ask you in details about that picture, and if we are not able to explain about it, then our control, or our acceptance as the speaker will be lost at that point. However, it is true that in this sense, or in Indonesia, for example, showing courtesy or showing that we are not an arrogant person is more preferable in the society. However, if we are going to talk in the international settings or an international seminar, they tend to be considered as an expert in the field. So make sure we don't make sure that we are not use this phrase whenever we have questions that is out our scope, but we use alternative method to counter or to answer about the questions. Just like in this class, I'm telling everybody, or I'm telling you, the students, that I am not the expert of the English grammar, obviously, because I am not graduated from the language studies. But however, since I am obliged to teach you about scientific communications and all of the method that related to that, and I'm showing you the experience that I have when I was working with some publications, with some talk, etc. and so on. And therefore, I have that expertise, even though I'm not the expert in terms of the English language itself. But I do have expertise in communicating science in terms of scientific paper and also the presentations. Okay. The structure of a good talk: start broad, get specific, and end broad. After going into depth, come back to your home slide to make transitions. So this is basically the technique on how we grab the attention of our audience in the middle part of our talk. Okay, we could make in such a way so that the audience attention will be taken after we speak about some detailed information or some technical issues or some more rigorous explanation related to the topic, which is in the middle part. And then the final part is obviously the end. And we can focus now on the conclusion of the study, whether the study is successful or not, or what are the limitations, or what are the results of our study, and what are the projections that we can make from this result. Okay, and okay, in the end, we must prepare the talk with the most specific conclusion, then build back out to the big picture, whether it is solving the big picture problem, or it just adding more information in terms of solving the problem itself. Okay, so that the conclusion and recommendation is that and then in the conclusion and recommendation, what we use is, or what we add there is the key points, and the key points about the result, and then the implication of the result, and also we need to provide one slide for each measure. So one slide for conclusion and one slide for recommendation. Okay, in terms of organizing a great talk, we must be smart about PowerPoint, and therefore there are plenty of videos in YouTube or any provider that tells us how to prepare a good presentation, whether it's in formal presentation, whether it's a informal presentation, etc. And then your introduction should start broad and then get specific, and then we need to think of our talk as consisting of episodes. So the first episode is the beginning, the second one is the method, for example, and then the third episode is the way we collect the data. The fourth one is how we analyze the data and how we interpret the result of the analyzed data, and then the conclusion or the epilogue will be our conclusion and recommendation. Use a home site to make transition effectively. That is one suggestion. We don't need to strict with it. We can use this, or we can just flow. We can just make the presentation flow as it is, and then your conclusion should start specific but end productive. Okay, avoid PowerPoint poisoning. We already talked about this one in Thursday. And then check this antidote to help reduce PowerPoint toxicity, the poison. If we have PowerPoint indigestion, we must add it ruthlessly, so that if in the beginning we have, so for example, in a 15-minute talk, okay, in 15-minute talk, we have 30 slides. We must make an effort so that it will be reduced half of it, so that at least we have 15. Okay, 20 is still acceptable, but too much slides is also not good for scientific presentation. So, in retrospect, with the expert that we have on Thursday, telling us that in his style or in his way of delivery, the message should be delivered in a simple way, so that the consequences is that the amount of slides will be large. That is one style, okay. And however, in our environment, or in our in our settings in physics department, is that if you have 15 minutes presentation, the maximum number of slides that you need to provide is 15 slides, because the rule of thumb in the scientific world is that you need to talk about the slides for 1 minute. Okay, the content of your talk that is helped by the visual aid from the PPT. So one slide is equal to 1 minute presentation, or 1 minute speak, or 1 minute hold. And then the second poison is the myopia. Okay, you use too little, or you not using the appropriate size for your letters and information in the slides. Okay, so use strong contrast, black on white, white on black, etc., and so on, and then use large fonts for your introduction and also for your content. And then the third poison is the flying object. Do not overdo the bells and whistles, so do not use too many animations. Okay, no words flying in front from all directions, and then no overuse of animation and sound effects. So in this case, in defense or in a typical scientific talk, you don't need to use too many animation. And then other toxicity relate to the technical difficulties. You must make sure that everything that you prepare in terms of your device, connectivity, your voice, microphone, and then your headphones, etc., is on a prime condition, and then lost the patience. Okay, and then the next illness is the lost the patient. The antidote is that we need. Okay, you lost the patient. It means that you don't spend your time too much, because as I'm doing right now in the lecture, reading word for word from your visual is equal to presentation depth. So make sure that in your defense or in your seminar presentation, you don't use this. And therefore, you don't need to show too many sentences in your presentation, okay? Because you only have 15 minutes maximum for your presentation for this class, or even in your defense for 20 minutes. Okay, and the rest is the no prescription. In terms of the transition or roadmaps that keep the audience with you, you need to have a strong concluding slide with action and step. Okay, good public speaking, speak slowly and clearly, project to the back from the room, do not read entire presentation, pause for emphasis, and do not forget. So since I'm not going to talk word by word about this subject, because I am guessing that it makes the situation a little bit boring. However, since this is a lecture, the description is kind of not strict, but what I say is there are things that we need to read or to be given in this type of way. So instead of just read all of this, I'm just going to let you skim about this. Okay, I'm just letting you to read about the material that I provide you here, and obviously I have uploaded this in EduNext. Okay, so whenever you want to have some kind of a guidelines and controls for your slide preparation, then you may go to this slide so that you can be have that guidance in terms of preparing the slide. Okay, nevertheless, I'm just going to remind you that next week, okay, we're going to start our 3 minutes presentation. And in this case, since we only have 3 minutes, the thing that we are going to evaluate is basically the timing, okay, the duration of your talk, and then the content itself, and then the way that you present, and then your gesture, basically. Okay, for 3 minutes, because this is the early start of your oral presentation, and I will randomly select people from the attendance list, so there will be no particular order that we need to follow. And then in Thursday, I will give you some kind of a directions on what kind of environment that we want to set for the 3 minutes presentation, because we usually set different settings for presentations, because in the final presentation, this one, the 15-minute presentation, it will be the setting will be kind of similar with the defense settings, whereas in 3 minutes, it's just like when you're going to give a short description on the thing that you do in front of the interview, when you have a job interview, or when you speak with some expert in a quick manner, or you have a quick interview, or you have a quick interaction with some people that ask you about the thing that you do for your research, for example, you could provide a brief explanation in 3 minutes. And therefore, in this 3 minutes presentation, you are required to present your introduction. Okay, so the introduction that you already have in the in this paper draft submission, you could make it as the 3 minutes presentation for next week. Okay, so I guess that's all for today. We'll meet again in Thursday for more details on the delivery. Okay, so I will stop the recording.